Welcome to the Spin Fest of manual redirected walking through Boneworks, of which I embarked my 8,339.7 meter journey to run, jump, and climb to the end of the campaign. If you did not know, manual redirected walking is an advanced locomotion method where I don't use the joystick to move. In fact, it was unbound. Player controller. The player controller is the code that defines how the player moves in the virtual space, with either input from the joysticks or movement around the play space. This is critical for the use of manual redirected walking, as the player controller can restrict the movement of the user, making manual redirected walking unusable. That said, the player controller for Boneworks is simply amazing. I didn't have to pray to the Steam VR gods to make the binding menu work, and with that, manual redirected walking in Boneworks just works. Climbing in combination with walking is very immersive. I had to work to where I wanted to go. Most everything you could do in real life you could do in Boneworks, except proning. You can't prone. It won't let you go down that far. You may not know that the player controller in Boneworks conserves your tracked momentum when you're in freefall. That means you actually need to produce the velocity required to make a jump between a gap, which was amazing when you make it across a huge gap and catch the ledge like in the movies. But I wish you could initiate the jump by jumping in real life. An issue I had with the player controller and manual redirected walking is that it would get stuck on small ledges, dead bodies, and the slippery sections, making it very difficult to proceed in those areas. And with the bodies, it made melee combat more difficult too. Gameplay. Boneworks' inventory is not very reliable to begin with. Manual redirected walking did not make it worse though. But since I was up and moving, I was more likely to crouch in more situations than normal, which makes the inventory a game of RNG. Sometimes you grabbed what you wanted, or something else at random. Manual redirected walking didn't hinder any of the weapon handling. Pistols, rifles, and melee weapons all behaved as you would expect, which is good, as some titles can get goofy when manual redirected walking. The zombies are very annoying when I am the speed of myself. Not only are they mostly silent, but all they do is walk straight towards you. And when I'm this slow, it takes a lot of energy to make sure I don't end up in a mosh pit. When I try to melee them, I get stuck on his friend's body, and I would either have to quick dash into my wall or spend the next 20 milliseconds turning to make room for said quick dash. As with games that work with manual redirected walking, doors are great. The granularity of control allows the doors to work just as they would in real life. It adds a small amount of immersion that goes a very long way. The puzzles are shit, so I skip them. I guess it's a testament to how much freedom the player controller has. Being able to run, jump, and climb anywhere felt amazing. I could go anywhere my real legs and arms could take me. Scenes and settings. The immersion that would usually come from manual redirected walking was often broken up by long stretches of low-density environment that served as a reminder that I chose this pain. These were quite common throughout the game, and I have a theory on why it's like this. I think it's somewhat like how billboards became bigger as the speed of cars went up. You need a bigger object to make up for the faster speed of the car. Same thing happens when the max speed of joystick running in Boneworks is probably world record tier in real life. So when I slowed down with manual redirected walking, these areas became painfully obvious on how low density they were. The dark areas in VR games often work the best for the medium, as the border between lens and darkness becomes less apparent. When manual redirected walking, these areas can be in real life spooky, as it becomes difficult to determine where you are in space with how dark it is. But these levels in Boneworks aren't really that hard to begin with, so it wasn't much of an issue. Exploration was not really encouraged that well in Boneworks. Ammo was not really something I needed throughout the game, excluding getting the cool guns at the end. The hidden areas are out of the way and does not return the investment for going out. Again, because I am manual redirected walking, there was even more reason not to go out of the way for something that was not really necessary. So, my walkthrough of the game was very efficient. Conclusion. Boneworks is a mixed bag of interesting ideas. Some work really well with manual redirected walking, others not so much. The main campaign, while skipping puzzles and not really exploring much, is 8,339.7 meters over 4.5 hours. So nothing really too bad. but it's just the huge open spaces with little in them that takes me out of it. I've saved comparing Boneworks to Half-Life Alyx until now, but on Half-Life Alyx, almost every meter had something in it. There was so much to look at, or to do, or to explore, while in Boneworks, they had areas of that detail, but they also had areas of empty halls or long corridors, which are not very fun to manually redirect walk through. It's hard to say that I wouldn't recommend to manual redirected walk through Boneworks, but you should know that it's not going to be very stimulating for some sections. That said, it is worth to check it out for their player controller. Running, jumping, and climbing, anything with real locomotion is something that I think every dev should do for the future. So please give Boneworks a try with manually redirected walking. I don't think you'll have a bad time. At the minimum, you'll learn a trick or two.